All right, everybody. I think we are officially live right now. Can everybody hear me nice and clear? Just want to check in on the audio. Hope everybody is doing well. So, first of all, everybody, I want to wish you all a very Merry Christmas, a Happy Holidays. This is going to be the last live stream of 2020, and we've got some really exciting things in the pipeline, for 2021. So, actually, I'm going to take off my headphones because we don't have any audio coming back to me. So it makes sense. I can just do it like this. So, anyways, I'm really excited to be here and very excited to have all of you here today. Let me just make sure that this is going. Can you guys hear me okay? Da, 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 da. All right. Da, da, da. Let's see. Let me just check this real quick. Sorry, real quick. I'm having a little bit of problem here. Let's just get through this and then we can make sure that we are good to go. And I'm very much looking forward to spending some time with you guys tonight and also, just really answering some questions and telling you a little bit about what's going to be happening in the channel moving forward. Okay. Yes. Caliber Wings. Okay. Fantastic. So very good. Now, guys, I want to first of all thank you for making the time change here. We had a little bit of a switch. So normally, what I like to do is I try to accommodate as many different people around the world as possible. Now, typically, what that means is I'll wake up here at 5 a.m. here in Vancouver, which is 8 a.m. in New York. It's a pretty good time, about 1 p.m. in the UK, and then evening time in China. I've had a lot of requests to actually move it and normally do that schedule. I figured, you know what, why don't we try to do this another time? I know this probably messed up some people. I think that's maybe why we're not getting a lot of people in the chat to start off. But anyways, I decided to give it a go and we'll see how it goes. But anyways, let's say moving forward, we can try to do, I do like to have that live stream where basically it can be on the same day. I know in Asia, it's already the 27th. Here in North America, it's the 26th. But anyways, wanted to try something new, for this time. Now, what we're going to do is basically going to talk a little bit about 2020, kind of some of the things that I've learned and, really just some of the things that we've experienced over the last, few months, especially. I've been very humbled by the support that we've got from around the world. And, I just wanted to, basically just thank you all for your continued support. So really, I want to talk a little bit about, why did I start a YouTube channel? And, what have I learned this year from, vlogging and making these videos and content like that? And I think what's really interesting is I go back to, the beginning of year and really, actually, I guess it really started a couple years ago when we saw the United States really taking a much more aggressive look towards China. Of course, we saw Donald Trump, really start things off with the trade war. And it's interesting, for myself as an expat that has been living, that lived in China for over 10 years. It was always amazing because during my time in China, I would be living in Shanghai or Hong Kong, traveling around China. And whenever I would go back to America, I always realized, people would ask me questions, like, oh, is it true? Like everybody just walks around in fear every day of the government. I mean, like, how do you have, are you still an American, Cyrus? Have you had to give up your passport yet? How are you working in a communist country? And there was just so many stereotypes and people just didn't really understand anything about China. And so, I think for me, it was really frustrating earlier this year when I did see, just so many reports coming out against China, that were just false, and unfortunately, I really feel that China does not get portrayed fairly in the media. And I think it's really great that we have a platform, like YouTube and other content, other forms as well, that we can talk about China and that people like myself can have a voice. And what's really interesting is I think many of you now know my story. When I first went to China, I was a golf professional. That's what brought me to China. My passion for the game of golf. Had a chance to go to China, become a golf professional, work in many different industries, sports marketing, etc., business development. And anyways, it was just an amazing time to be in China, to see the rapid growth, the quality of life improving for the people there. And, anyways, when I came back here to North America, I just really wanted more people to understand about China. And so I started on YouTube, and I didn't really, my first videos on YouTube, if you go back to the history, they were golf related. And then really I had a vision to say, you know what, I want to, make some better content that actually can hopefully, bring more people together in the world, and to really, just make the world a little bit of a better place. I mean, at the end of the day, we have to get along together. And it was really that simple idea, of just learning to work together. And if you look back in history, you look back, when Richard Nixon first went to China and he gave a speech, one of the first things that he said is that there will always be differences between the United States and China. There always will be differences, right? I mean, the countries are so different, but it's also really great because, as we know, diversity and these cultural differences, this is what really makes the world unique, and this is what really makes the world interesting. Obviously, if everything is homogeneous, everybody's the same, it'd be a very boring world. And I think that was one of the first things he said is we're always going to have these differences, but at the end of the day, there is a lot of similarities too. So we need to really build on these similarities, and we really need to, find a way to work together. I watched a recent interview or a speech rather, from Ronald Reagan, who was in Shanghai in 1984, and he was at Fudan University, a very big university in Shanghai. And he gave a very similar speech. It was almost mirrored exactly what Nixon had said, prior to that, and here it was the same thing, just saying, look, we need to realize there's going to be differences, and we need to accept that and build on our similarities. Now, when I went to China in 2007, I saw a tremendous amount of business from Americans, especially. And it was really interesting because, as an American, as soon as I got to China, I was always treated with a tremendous amount of respect. Everybody's very curious about America. Everybody wanted to learn about my hometown, my country, my culture. And it's just interesting how, what we saw, for instance, being in the golf industry, for instance, there's a lot of corporate events. So we'd be constantly working with like Dow Chemical and BMW and, all of these big multinational firms. Interesting enough, we had a lot of German expats that were there, and they were all there because they're all engineers, and they're all being hired by these Chinese companies and foreign companies that are opening factories there. But they can have the skilled workers to, do the work, but they need the German engineering to actually make the manufacturing flow and to the logistical operation. Of course, Germans are very meticulous and very organized. So it was really a vibrant, expat community that we had. And it was just so interesting to see how much business was pouring into China at that time. Again, 2007 was really a great time, I think, to go. One, it was good in the golf industry. That was really the start of the growth in golf in China, but also just in business in general. I mean, it didn't really matter what business you were doing in China. It was growing very fast, and it was really, interesting to see. And I think, as a result of that, I just realized, how many American companies and companies around the world, everybody, wanted, access to China. And it was really interesting is every year I would go back from China, I'd come back to Florida. My hometown's Orlando, and Orlando has one of the largest convention centers in America. And so that is a really big source of revenue for our city. We host a lot of international conventions. The world's largest golf convention is every January in Orlando. So I would travel back from China to attend this golf event. And again, it is the largest event in America, largest event in the world, for golf. And what was interesting is I had my name tag, Cyrus Janssen, coming from Shanghai, China, and everybody would stop me and ask us like, man, we need to get our stuff manufactured in China. Like, you're based in China? Like, we need to talk to you because you can help us. We want to manufacture this. We want to do this. We want to expand to here. Like, basically everybody in the golf industry, wanted to get into China or work with China. And that was just one industry. I mean, obviously we know, everything from our household goods to, high-end quality products now. All of this is being manufactured. Relationships with China has created a lot of wealth, for countries around the world. And I think it's really interesting when you look at China, and the work that they're doing around the world right now. I mean, China very much is open to, to building new bridges, helping out other countries, investing in infrastructure, all of these things. And, again, I don't see China as this country that has, a huge military presence around the world that is going into other countries and, trying to convert other countries into communism. I don't see that anywhere. Okay. Now, people might say, well, what about Hong Kong? Well, again, Hong Kong is not a separate country. That is a city within China. It's very clear. Also, when you look at the situation in Hong Kong, the tremendous amount of violence that was present in China, in Hong Kong. I mean, it's unbelievable how chaotic Hong Kong was. And this is Asia's world city. This is one of the most amazing cities in the world. And you simply couldn't have that happening. So, as much as people want to say that China is crushing the democracy dreams, of millions in Hong Kong, you have to look on the flip side of that. There's also millions of people that celebrated when the national security law was put into place because they finally knew that there would be peace and stability, to their city. And I think that is a really, very big thing. About that. I had the episode earlier this year talking about the Key Bros, two young students. They're based in Hong Kong, or from Hong Kong. They actually go to school in London. But we talked a lot about national security law, talked a lot about Hong Kong and this. So anyways, this is what I wanted to kind of get into, just talking a little bit about why I started this YouTube channel. And let me just go through. I know that we've got a lot of kind of some comments, some questions in here. So let me just kind of address this as well as we're going. So everybody, thank you guys for everybody. Winter, I really love the Chinese painting right behind Cyrus. Oh, this is really cool, actually. So this painting here is actually a watercolor painting. I'm going to tilt my screen up a little bit. You can see this. So this painting is really special to me because one of my first students that I taught golf to was a young boy, and I taught him for many years. And this is actually a watercolor that he painted me, and I've had this for well over a decade. Probably close to, probably over a decade now. But anyways, it's just a beautiful water village in China, hand painted from a student of mine. So it's really, I love having that in the office. And anyways, I've got a nice little super chat in here from Trevor Norman. Let us all try and get the truth about China into mainstream media this coming year. Yeah, I think, what's really interesting about this, before I address that, also Sophie Bao, happy birthday, Cyrus. Keep up your amazing work. Now, Sophie and I, we actually share the same birthday. And this is a fun fact for everybody that knows about China. Today is Chairman Mao's birthday in China. So it is a very big day in China. Chairman Mao's birthday. It is also my birthday as well. So I'm very happy to spend a little bit of time here on YouTube with all of you. Thank you for joining me here today on this live stream. It's always a lot of fun to do live streams. I really enjoy, the comment section, kind of interacting with you. Also, the other thing is as you know, when I produce my videos, I take a lot of time to research. It takes me a lot of time to film those and edit those. So this is nice because I can just come a little bit more natural. I'm not going to be editing anything, so I can just come and, have a little bit of a freestyle chat with you all, which is also a lot of fun. So yeah, Sophie, thank you for the birthday wishes. It's interesting. Whenever I was in China, I always use this as a talking point. I always would, when Chinese people would ask me when my birthday is, I would say, my birthday is the same as Chairman Mao. And I kind of I found about 50-50 split. I'd say 50% of people would be like, oh, December 26th, that's great. And the other half wouldn't necessarily know that. But I did. It was amazed to see, a lot of people in China did know that. They're very proud of that. And it's just kind of a fun fact. I always kind of said I was destined to come to China because, hey, I got the same birthday as Chairman Mao. That's kind of fun. So guys, thank you all for these birthday wishes coming in. Very kind of you. Going back to that super chat, Trevor Norman, yes, let's all try to get the truth out about China in the mainstream media this year. Now, I think this is what's really interesting is I think 2020 has been the year of the China vlogger. That is really the theme that I've kind of taken from this year. And, I'm very humbled by, this incredible amount of support, that I've received in this channel. And I think really all of the China, anybody that's making content about China, has certainly received a tremendous amount of, views and followers. And it is certainly very interesting because I think China obviously is always going to be a very hot topic situation. People are always curious about China. It's seemingly in the news every single day. And this is why I think why our YouTube channels have become very popular because, again, this has been the year for China. Now, it started very difficult in the year, obviously, with COVID-19. What's really interesting about this is that you see China was really the first country to get into the COVID-19, but it was also the first country to get out of COVID-19. Pretty much in China right now, COVID-19 has been controlled. Very rarely you see some new cases coming out. For instance, I believe last week I was reading some news a couple days ago, Guangzhou. It was Guangzhou or Guangdong, somewhere in Guangdong region, that they had one case, an asymptomatic case pop up in Guangdong. They tested, a tremendous amount of people, were basically able to, do a number of tests and said it didn't spread anywhere. So, the government has done a tremendous amount of, work, obviously controlling COVID. And it's incredible because it's funny when you look at mainstream media, especially in the West. So many people are coming out and saying China's numbers can't be real. China's definitely faking the numbers. And I have to imagine that there's certainly a little bit of jealousy involved, because it's frustrating in the West, right? I mean, we just have never gotten it under control. I mean, look at my home country of America right now. I mean, we are way worse right now, and coming into the end of 2020 than America was in March or April or May. I mean, we never really got a handle on COVID at any time. Sure, there was kind of a little bit of a downturn in the summer, but I mean, we never really had it stopped. And of course, now with the winter season, it's just really gone, full case. Here in Canada, even, I mean, we've had a large increase as well. But what's also interesting is I'm here in Richmond, Canada. Richmond, for those of you that don't know, it's about 60 to 70% Chinese population here in Richmond, which is really interesting, because the British Columbia health authorities came out with a map of the region, and all of the other areas around Vancouver, all of the suburbs, all have very high rates of COVID. Richmond, out of everywhere, has the lowest. And I do attribute that very much to the Chinese population here. The first stores here that were making mandatory face masks, that was back in March, before that was, standard practice. That was all in Richmond. That all basically Richmond kind of led that. And again, I've mentioned this in some videos before as well, that, before, really Canada had a lot of cases. I mean, we saw a significant decrease in, attendance at the shopping malls in Richmond and restaurants in the Richmond. I mean, you saw Chinese restaurants, severely impacted, kind of late February. People were not going out anymore. The Chinese population knew that this was going to come. So I believe that was a big reason. Even now still, where you see Richmond is certainly, a better part in that. So it's interesting, I think with China, it's so fascinating. I want to talk about Caliber Wings. He brought up a good point earlier. Caliber, if you're on the channel right now, still, you mentioned Martin Jacques. Martin Jacques, a scholar from the UK. He's done some amazing talks on China. One of the ones that I think he did a TED talk about the rise of China. I believe it was about 2008 or 2009. So it was quite maybe 10 years ago, over that. But anyways, he had talked about how essentially China is rising up, and that it will overtake the United States, economy, within the next 15 to 20 years. This was, again, about 10 years ago. And I think what we've seen now with COVID is I think we've seen a huge acceleration, of this. The gap between America and China, China is certainly closing that gap very fast. COVID is really going to be, I think, very difficult, for America and Western countries to get a handle on. And I'm going to tell you an interesting story about this that's really fascinating. I was talking to a friend of mine in Florida. This will show you an insight into, the mindset of Westerners and why, again, we're really struggling with this. I was talking with a friend of mine in Florida, and he said, "Cyrus, what are your plans for Christmas?" Now, here in British Columbia, all gatherings of any kind are now banned. You can only meet with your immediate household. So obviously that means my wife and children, nobody else. So Christmas was canceled this year here in British Columbia. So I told my friend, I said, yeah, well, Christmas is canceled. We can't have any gatherings of any kind. So it's just going to be my wife and kids, and we'll just spend it at home, just in, maybe make a turkey and just hang out at home. His response: "Oh, I wasn't aware that Canada is a communist country." And I said, "Oh, what do you mean?" He's like, "Well, I thought you had freedom in Canada. You don't value freedom in Canada?" And I said, "Well, we're kind of in the middle of a pandemic. I don't know if you've noticed anything, but we're in the middle of a pandemic." And he's like, "Well, here in Florida, we can meet up to 10 people. We can still have up to 10 people gathering. So I'm planning a party with, 8 of my closest friends. And I said, and that's why you have over 1 million cases in the state of Florida alone. Now I get it, and this is really a big thing. I did this in a YouTube video again, why America was destined, for, to lead the world in COVID. And again, I'm not trying to come out and say that this is not meant to be, I'm anti-American or, I'm just kind of stating a fact here. Like I am an American, so I do know the fact that freedom is by far the most important quality, or value, I would say, for Americans. And for many, they would say that freedom is more important than life itself. So to have that ability to say, look, I don't want to wear a face mask. I want to gather when I want to gather. I want to do what I want to do. No one can tell me what to do. That will be more important for people than life itself in America. As crazy as that sounds. And I think it just kind of shows you this cultural difference, between the West and the East. And again, I know some people are going to say, okay, you know what, the numbers in China are fake. The interesting thing is, we just haven't seen any reports. I mean, look at all the expats. Forget Chinese people there, but look at all the expats. All the expats in China are working there. I have so many friends there, and they're just like, Cyrus, it's really hard for me to kind of still imagine that, you in Canada or America struggling with COVID. Like, we haven't really thought of it much since around June. Like, last 6 months, things have been pretty normal. So it's just kind of baffles me, that you guys are still dealing with that back home. And again, it is just this cultural difference that I think puts a big difference here. Let me jump here, do some super chats and everything, because we got a lot of things coming in here. I don't want to miss any. Sometimes I've missed some in the past. I feel so bad. So let me just make sure that we're good. So I got Trevor Norman there. Guys, I got from a Wang Yati a little keep it up sticker. Thank you so much. We'll definitely do. 加油, 加油. I love these. Here we go. Let's see. Paul Lun, thank you for the super chat, my friend. Thank you for that. Caliber Wings, you're here. Great. We got one from Ho Nie, little $5 one from Canada. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Very generous of you. Ralph from Hong Kong. Best wishes from Hong Kong. Thank you so much. Guys, thank you all for coming on the stream. We just passed over 400 in here. Bye, Ray. Thank you so much. Merry Christmas, Cyrus, and a happy birthday. Bye, Ray, big supporter of the channel. I thank you very much for your continued support. And guys, I'm thank you so much. Fact checker, time for dinner, then get ready for bed. Absolutely. Have a good dinner, my friend, and off to bed you go. No worries. Thanks for coming in. And I just love guys that jump in the stream and complaining. It's like, hey, I never asked you to come here. I never forced you to come here. And this is very similar. Let's relate this back to China, because I love this when people always say, Cyrus, China is stealing our jobs. We need to bring back jobs to America. Let's just be very clear about this. There's not a single factory in China that has forced an American company to say, hey, you need to come into China and you need to manufacture here. Okay. Who took Apple? It was Steve Jobs that said, let's go to China and open up factories so I can make my iPhones cheaper. Now, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, because I think it was a great thing for both countries. And this is something I've preached many times before. China, it created a tremendous amount of jobs in China. It was great to have these factories there, but also America benefited from, a cheaper production. They're able to obviously, produce iPhones much cheaper in China, import them back into America, and then resell them for a very high profitable margin. There's a reason why Apple is worth over $2 trillion in market cap. It's a very profitable country. Apple would be nothing without China. That's the bottom line. It would not be at the level that it is right now without its relationship with China. And I believe we see that with many companies and many situations here. And again, this is why I think it's really important that we have, this working relationship with China. But what's interesting as well is, we'll just kind of see where this conversation leads us. But it's interesting when we see now how China has shifted so much. It's not so much that we make all the cheap stuff in China. And this is what people always say, right? Okay, we make these pens in China. We make these newspaper, these notepads, and we make, chairs to sit on. Sure, we make a lot of the, less expensive stuff to make. But what's shifted in China is look at how good the quality is on the high-tech the high tech equipment. Just look at, for instance, all of the cell phone manufacturers. I mean, so many of the parts are made in China, but even the local ones. I mean, we know Huawei's doing great technology. We have Xiaomi, another huge one that's coming in. I mean, there's so many. I think Xiaomi just passed $100 billion in market cap as well. I believe I just saw that report the other day. So, tremendously popular. And this is what we're seeing is that, Chinese manufacturers are producing very high quality content. And this was something that I had noticed a big shift over the years as well. Is, for example, in 2007, when I was in China, I would go to Carrefour, it's the French supermarket that, has opened up in China, very popular in China. I would go shopping at Carrefour, and, you'd go to the electronic department, and, I would, you'd be looking for electronics. Nobody in China wanted to buy Chinese made products there, right? If you wanted to go buy a TV, you're thinking, okay, let me get Samsung because it's Korean. Let me go get LG. Let me get whatever brand I want. But you didn't see a lot of Chinese people embracing the domestic products. Because at that time, even in 2007, sure, the quality was rising, but it still wasn't as good as some of the international brands. And I think you've seen a huge shift in that. There's certainly these international brands are obviously still being sold in China, but I think you're seeing a very large amount of people, now embracing domestic products, and realizing that the quality of stuff made in China is just getting better. And so it's really interesting. And I think, this is what's really interesting about, Xi Jinping when he talks about dual circulation. And this is an interesting thing as well, because, China, for example, they get criticized when they say, okay, we're going to start, developing everything domestically. And then China, the Western media is going to say, well, China, that's bad on China, because now you're cutting off your trade. You're trying to do everything on yourself. You're basically learning to be this, monopolistic empire that's going to cut off resources from everybody in the world. But but on the flip side, if you were China, wouldn't you want to do that as well? For example, when the United States and Donald Trump are coming out and saying, you know what, we need to burn every bridge we have with China. We need to completely decouple from China. So if that's the case, if that's what you want to do, I mean, what option would China have? I mean, China would have to turn domestically, and they'd have to turn inwardly to manufacture their products. So, I mean, I think what you're also seeing is that, for example, I believe last year, China imported $2.2 trillion worth of products into China. So it's not like China has cut off its bridges and is not going to be importing stuff. We know, for example, China imports a lot of stuff as well. I mean, you look at the country of Australia, which was a recent episode that I talked about, talking about 30, I believe it was the ratio, 27% of all, no, it's 37% of all exports from the country of Australia into China. So it's this is very important for the country of Australia. So many jobs are being fueled by this relationship with China. You completely separate these two, there's going to be millions of Australians suffering from that relationship. I mean, it's just very clear when we look at this from an economic perspective, and just look at the vibrant Chinese community in Australia as well. This is really, really, really important. So let me get to a couple, here we go. Caliber Wings. I was in Shanghai Disneyland in October, packed for the Golden Week. I was back in Shanghai Disneyland in early December. No one, due to some cases in Pudong. So everyone stayed away, as prevention is better than the cure. Absolutely. And I think this is what China has done better than anybody. And this is really what's funny, because I'm going to address this as well. First of all, thank you guys. We've just passed over 500 people now tuning in live. Thank you guys for taking time out of your day to spend it with me here. I love the live streams. This is so good. Fire some questions away if you want to address these. Caliberring's great, very good, interesting insight there. And this is something that is that I want to talk about as well, because some people in the West have said, well, okay, I get it. China's been able to handle COVID. But the reason is you have the Communist Party that is ruthless. They have come in, they have bolted everybody's doors down. They have welded people into their apartments. They have essentially forced Chinese people to stay indoors, treated them like prisoners. So that's how they were able to do it. Now, I'm not going to deny that there's videos of that happening. Sure, there is a video that went viral of people welding some doors shut. Now, is that a one-off case, or did that happen nationwide? Well, let's be honest. It was really a one-off case. Yes, and this is the problem that you deal with on social media is that you can record one video and it goes viral. For example, let's take the flip side. We have, police officers in the United States that have gone out and they have it on video shooting a black man or beating somebody up. Does this mean that every police officer in America is corrupt? Absolutely not. There is an issue in America with racism, and that's a time for another topic. However, what I mean is you can't judge an entire country or somebody off of one video. Now, the reality is you have to really give a lot of credit to the Chinese people. And this is something that I was not in China during COVID-19 at all. Obviously, I've been in Canada the whole time. We were planning to go back. We were not able to, of course. However, this is something that I give a huge testament to the Chinese people themselves, because this is what we have noticed here in Vancouver, is that many Chinese people, they are the most cautious amongst anybody here in Vancouver. Like I mentioned, in this regional map of Vancouver, all of the suburbs have a lot of COVID except Richmond, this one area, because it's mainly Chinese. That's a theory. That's my theory, but I do believe that's a huge, issue with that. Why that we've been able to control COVID so well here in Richmond. The interesting thing is that what we see with our Chinese friends here, we've had a number of families that have pulled their kids out of school. And we're talking February, pulled their kids out of school. To this day, they still have not sent them back. They're doing only online because the Chinese people in general, they're a little bit more fearful and they're more respectful of the virus. So I think this is what you have to realize about why China was able to control COVID. It's not like you had Chinese people rushing out to the street saying, I want my freedom. I should be able to be out here. And then you have the Communist Party dragging them into their apartment, forcing them to stay there. For the most part, the will of the Chinese people to respect the virus and to do what they had to do. That is why China was able to overcome COVID. And that is why, you saw it, it was very much short-term pain for long-term gain. I mean, look at Wuhan, 76 days lockdown, right? I mean, and I remember talking to my friends, I just said, man, like, wow, like I feel so bad for the city of Wuhan. Like, how are they ever going to recover from this? I mean, this could be like Chernobyl, I mean, like Chernobyl. I mean, just, like maybe this town is done forever. And here we are, I mean, what were we, 6-7 months later, and they're having pool parties. Wuhan is back to normal. It's just incredible how fast that transformation happened. Just really incredible. Let's go on a couple of super chats. Trevor Norman, I bet 99% of those in the stream that moan about China have never been there to see what the truth is about a great country. I think that, this is something that I definitely want more people to do. Is I encourage people, if you have the opportunity, you got to go to China. You have to experience in this. And this is something that, I heard Nathan Rich say this. I'm going to give him the quote on this one. Is he said, there's two types of foreigners: those that hate China and those that have been to China. I don't think that's 100% true. I mean, there's certainly a lot of people. There's not everybody hates China, but there is a lot of truth in that statement. That some of the biggest critics, that really do not like China, have not been there. And this probably, I don't think I've ever told this story. I'm going to tell a quick story because this was probably the catalyst to me starting a YouTube channel, to really focus on making YouTube videos. So the very first China video, if you go back and you view this, the very first China video that I made was talking about LeBron James and his comments about China. And what's interesting is up until that point, I made probably 5 or 6 golf videos, just having fun, not really thinking about YouTube as really anything. And then I was watching the TV and I watched LeBron James and I watched his comments. And what I thought he said was brilliant. He just said, of course, as Americans, we have freedom of speech. But we have to realize that as we travel around the world, our freedom of speech can mean different things in different countries. And that's so true. And if you don't understand that, you really don't understand how the international community works. I mean, as an American, I can say whatever I want to say in the comforts of America and, with my democracy and with my First Amendment rights. But how could you be so naive to think you should be able to take that and go all around the world and be able to be the loud American? I mean, if you do not understand that simple concept, you really need to travel around the world and you need to learn more. I'm sorry, but it's as simple as that. So anyways, what I did, interesting, is I took that YouTube video and I posted it on my LinkedIn. Now, LinkedIn, as we know, is much more for business, social networking. It's not so much like Facebook, right? Facebook is much more social, connecting with friends, but LinkedIn is much more business related. So I posted it on my LinkedIn and it got a lot of traction. I think it got maybe 3,000 or 4,000 views on LinkedIn, which was a lot. And I think it got maybe 50 or 60 different comments, which was more than anything I've ever posted before. And one of the guys, this was really interesting. He posted it on there and he said, Cyrus, I do not support China in any way, and I want to see China destroyed. And I said, okay, this is interesting. Let's have a chat with this guy. So I clicked on his LinkedIn profile, and this man wrote a blog. So his LinkedIn profile, it said under main profession, he is the CEO slash senior editor at XYZ blog. Okay. And so I clicked on his blog. This is an entire blog dedicated to China. Okay. The entire blog is China. And I went through the 10 most recent articles, and I think 8 out of 10 were completely negative about China, simply talking about how America should destroy China, how America should, China's the greatest threat in the world, China's our greatest enemy, da 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 da. So I said, wow, your job is to run a blog about China. So I'm just said, I'm really curious, like, tell me about your experience. How long have you lived in China? How, what are your experiences like? I don't have a problem with people differing in opinions, but I wanted to really understand this guy because I just find it interesting for people that have spent a long time in China that make this switch, that flip. And I what I've normally experienced is that usually that when people do this switch, they've usually had a bad experience happen to them and they've turned very bitter. So I just said, this must maybe what happened to this guy. I wonder what happened to him in China that made him flip like this. So I just asked him that question. Tell me, how long have you been in China? What's your story? What happened? And he said, Cyrus, I don't need to go to a country to write about it. I know everything about China because my grandparents fought in World War II against Adolf Hitler. And that's all you need to know about that. And I was just mind blown. I just said, whoa. Let's back the truck up. Let's stop here. Your entire job is to write a blog about China. Okay. You produce 2 to 3 articles a week about China. You have thousands of readers about China, and you've never been to the country? What are you talking about? Like, how do you have any credibility at all with what you're saying? This is just absolutely absurd to me that somebody could make a full-time living talking about China and literally has no experience in the country. And I know I'm going off on a little bit of a rant here, but I wanted to share this insight because to me, this is just what so many people miss. And over the years, I've had well over, a dozen friends from America come to China to visit me. And every single one of them, their minds are just blown away when they see China, they experience it. And it's like, Cyrus, China is nothing like I've actually, I perceived it to be. It's nothing. It's nothing at all. It's just simply incredible. So I actually thank that guy because that was the catalyst to me really saying, you know what? I need to make more videos about China because I want people to understand China. I think, again, I've said this in my videos before, I think the biggest reason that people fear something is because they don't understand it. And I think if we can, just provide some more facts and we can just provide a little bit more rational thinking, and analyzing these situations, I think that we'd have a lot less hate in the world. And I think that we would have a lot more people, really understanding China. I think what you look at, I'm so humbled by the incredible amount of support that I've received over this channel. I was looking back on August 12th this year. I posted on my YouTube community tab. I said, we just passed 10,000 subscribers. And I told myself if I ever could get to that number, if I could ever get to 10,000 subscribers, that this would really be a signal to me to say, Cyrus, you're on the right track. You are producing the content that needs to be made and that you are making a small difference in the world. And I know that that's a little cliche, right? I want to make a difference in the world, but I really do believe in shining a light. I really trying to, if you follow me on Twitter, I posted something on Christmas and I just said, look, from China to America and everywhere in between, my Christmas wish this year is that we learn to treat each other the way we want to be treated. And we learn to, embrace the similarities, accept the differences, and we move forward in this world together. We are one. Hashtag 2001 goals or 2021 goals. And anyways, so I was just so humbled that we reached 10,000 subscribers. Now here we are just over 4 months later, and we're knocking on the door to 90,000 subscribers. It's beyond anything I could have ever imagined. And I get so many emails every single day and messages of support, but just from so many people around the world. And I'm just so grateful for all of your support because, of course, this channel would be nothing without the subscribers, the supporters, you liking, sharing, commenting, and really getting behind this. But I think what we've seen in 2020 is an incredible amount of support given to people speaking for China, because we realize that there needs to be a balance in this. And people tell me, say, Cyrus, why don't you ever make a video talking about bad things about China? Like, why don't you talk about like the things you hate about China? And I said, well, there's a lot of negative stuff about China, right? So I don't think we need more content about that. I think that's everywhere, and that's everywhere every day. What I'm trying to do is trying to share some of the positive stories about China. Now, if you follow me on Facebook, I have a Facebook page. I actually just launched it about a couple weeks ago. I was kind of late to the game on starting a Facebook page for this channel. But anyways, if you go to facebook.com/Cyrus Talks China, you can see my Facebook page. I'm going to start to be updating there. A couple days ago, actually on Christmas Eve morning, I was on The Point with Liu Xing. Now, this was my third appearance on the show. Liu Xing, if you don't know, she is one of the best journalists in China. She does incredible work. She's on CGTN. She has her own TV show. It's all in English. And anyway, she invited me on the show on December 24th, and we talked about a story that was really amazing. Excuse me. And this was the fact that there was a rescue mission down in Antarctica. And if you haven't seen this video, it's really cool. What happened is there was an Australian researcher that was in desperate need of medical help. He was based in Antarctica. And for those of you that don't know, Antarctica is a very interesting place, because in the Antarctica Treaty of 1961, there's a guidelines, and some of the guidelines essentially is that the entire continent of Antarctica will only be used for peaceful purposes. There's no other purpose there except for peaceful purposes. All of the research that will be done there will be conducted in a friendly manner, working with people from other countries, and all the research that is found there will be openly shared with everybody else and everybody in the world. And that's really the three main pillars of the strategy behind Antarctica. What was really interesting is you had the United States and China. Basically, their two teams came together in a rescue mission to rescue this Australian researcher down there. And I said, now this is a story that you're never going to see in Western media. Number one, because it doesn't portray China in a negative light. What it does is basically what you saw China and the US say, you know what? Forget about these political differences. We have a human life in need. This is Australia, which, by the way, also is having a difficult time with China. Forget about it. Let's come together. Let's save a human life. And this is exactly what the United States and China did. They saved this researcher. It was an amazing story. And we just simply wanted to talk about that. We just said, these are the kind of the positive stories that we want to be, sharing from China, and just letting more people know about this. There's a tremendous amount of happiness and great things that are happening in China. People just don't get a chance to hear about it at all. Let me just address some of these super chats. Wang Yati, another little sticker here. Keep it up. Thank you so much for these caliber wings. With the advent of live streaming by ordinary people, influencers, slowly but surely, the world can see the world for what it really is. Absolutely. And I think that's really neat. We have a lot of China vloggers that do a lot of live streaming on the streets of China, really just showing you what it's like to be there. I am planning to return to China in 2021, hopefully this summer, COVID pending and everything. But I will certainly be doing some of that as well. And I do look forward to bringing you guys as well, to kind of show you China through my eyes, which would be really interesting. Another super chat from Just Wonder. Thank you so much for the super chat and support, everybody. I really, I'm just kind of scan some of these comments here. Really appreciate everybody coming in the strat. We're coming up to over 650 people now in the stream. And so what I want to talk to, this is a little bit about, basically what's happened in 2020. Now, what I want to talk a little bit about is some of the goals and what's happening in 2021. Okay. Now, a couple weeks ago, what you'll have noticed is that, hold on, I'm just making sure I didn't miss any super chats. Cyrus, you have been right. Cyrus, you have been on the right track and stay on track. Thank you so much. China has got flaws too. Absolutely. Absolutely, China has flaws. I mean, every country does, right? I mean, no one is going to say that it is a perfect country. Just followed you on Facebook. Thank you, guys. The Facebook group is facebook.com/Cyrus Talks China. If you want to follow me on Facebook as well. Here we go. 600 people. Hit that like button. Thank you, guys. Sophie Bao, there's a huge demand for telling the truth about China, but it's also your genuine honesty and authenticity that have paid back. Thank you for that. Hello from Uruguay. I've been there. 2014, I was there, and And there, do I have a LinkedIn account? I do. You can just look me up on LinkedIn, Cyrus Janssen. Just type in my name. You'll be able to find me. Similar profile pic to my YouTube one. So I'm on there. Feel free to connect with me there. Liu, Liu, Liu. I love that Chinese saying. That's great. Amy Wong, good job. Now, 2021, let's talk into this because a few weeks ago, about a month ago, I launched a new show called Real Talk China. And this is going to be my big project for 2021. And I'm really excited to share more about this because I have a very big vision of what this show can be and how it's going to go. And I want to share that with you right now. So the main thing that what I was really learning about and what I want to do that kind of separates me a little bit different from other YouTubers and how I want to attack this, for instance, the goal again is to try to build bridges and to try to help more people understand China. So I had this idea. I'm connected with, literally thousands of expats that are living in China. I connect with them on LinkedIn. I do a lot of business in China still. So my LinkedIn network is very extensive and I have a lot of great resources in there. So what I want to do is I want to start bringing in some of the expats that are living in China, and I want to bring them in and kind of let them share their story about China and what their companies are doing and what's going on. I'm going to give you a little preview of an upcoming episode that I'm going to be recording in the new year. There is a Finnish entrepreneur who is based in Suzhou. Now he works for a Finnish tech company. What this tech company does is they actually do the eye retina software for computers, and I believe the majority of their revenues for their company are coming from the video game technology, right? If you're playing video games, they need that eye retina tracking software. So that's one thing the company does. On the flip side of that, what this general manager does, I believe he's been in China for somewhere between 12 to 15 years. There's another side of the business. What they do is they actually use this technology to help special needs, children and adults throughout the world. And what they do is, for instance, if you're born without the ability to speak, they have a specialized tablet that they've developed where you can use your eyes to essentially look at different words on the screen, and then that tablet will speak the words. So somebody can learn to speak by using their eyes, without being able to actually say words. And so what this gentleman has done is he has gone through, the local governments in China, and he has given speeches to local governments saying, look, we need to, if we look at America, for example, if we look at the country of America, with a population of 350 million people, we've done statistics and basically see that XYZ percentage of people have this condition. Now, if we assume the same percentage and we magnify that times 4 because of China's population, there's a tremendous amount of people in China that have these special needs that could benefit from this technology. So what he's basically working with them is to help build these centers to help out people with special needs in China. And he's getting the local governments to invest money and, basically try to improve that because, China is not on the same standard, as far as, for instance, if you're special needs, you're much better in Europe or North America where there's, these facilities. And so anyways, I said, that's an amazing story, right? That's the story that we need to tell more people about. I mean, you're working with the local governments at these 4th and 5th tier cities, trying to build, facilities and getting the government to invest in projects so you can help people's lives, and I think that's a really great story. And that's what that's the kind of stories that I want to hear. That I want you to hear. I want more people to hear. And so, we had on episode 2 of Real Talk China, I brought in Haza China Vlogs. You guys might follow him on YouTube. We had a great discussion about China and Australia. He's from Australia. He's lived in China for 10 years. But I want to start bringing in some other expats. Caliber Wings, you brought in, you put it on there, Martin Jacques, the scholar from the UK. It's my goal to bring him into the channel. I want to do a collaboration with him and have a chance to interview him and talk to him. I want to bring in some of these world-renowned, professors that have an incredible knowledge into China. I want to bring these people in. I want to bring in ambassadors. I've got a former Canadian ambassador to China. He's agreed to come on to the show. I've got a lot of very exciting things in the pipeline, and I want to provide a little bit different perspective than just myself. I mean, I definitely have a lot of experience in China. I'm very happy to share my stories. I'm really touched one of my recent videos, why I left China and moved to Canada, that was just a very quick video that I made because it was just me telling my story. And that was really well received by everybody on YouTube. I think I had a lot of people, sharing that and viewing that. It's done over 200,000 views in the first couple of weeks. So I'm very, very grateful for your support on that video. And a lot of people are just saying, Cyrus, share more of your story, share more of these insights. So I'm going to continue doing that. But this is the vision, and this is one of the things that I wanted to show you. I've got a board in my office, and I've essentially, written up some pretty big names, right? And I'm just going to really shoot for the moon and just say, look, I want to bring in some of these, really big names, and I want to bring them into Real Talk China, and let's really just talk about it so more people around the world can understand that. We're going to do it a little bit different perspective. So that is one of the big projects that I'm going to be working on in 2021, and I'm really excited to share you those insights. Sophia, a little sticker, keep it up. Thank you so much for the support there. And here we go. Crisco, Cyrus doesn't need to post something bad about China. You can simply go to watch CNN, Fox, and BBC if you would like to watch something bad about China, although most of news are fake news. Yeah, I mean, I think that's what we're really seeing is there is a lot of, unfortunately, there's just a lot of people that don't understand China. China is a very complex country, and I think it really takes a lot. I mean, I've lived a long time in China. And I think if you compare me to the average Westerner, I probably know more than 99.9% of Westerners. However, I'm not trying to say that I'm an expert on China. And that's one thing you don't hear me say. I never say, hi, I'm a China expert. What I always try to say is, I'm a veteran. I've certainly lived there for 10 years. But I'm learning every day, including the language, including the culture. There's so many different things that we can learn about China. So I think this is something that you always want to keep in is certainly an open mind and a willingness to learn. The moment that you start thinking you know everything you need to know about a subject matter, you're in trouble. So I don't think I'm never going to reach the level of expert, but I definitely want people, to hear my side, and I think I can be a voice, to certainly help build this bridge. So I'm really excited for Real Talk China because I believe that we can really pull in some great guests, and I think you're going to see some really fun insights into China. One of my goals is to bring in Eric Yuan, who is the CEO of Zoom. That's a big goal. I mean, he's a big figure, right? I mean, he's a very big, accomplished Fortune 500, CEO of Zoom Communications. And, I love his story. He has an amazing story of how he came to America, and how he's founded Zoom Communications. I mean, he's done a tremendous amount of benefit for the country of America. And he's from China. He's educated in China. I mean, he came, it took him 8 times in order to get the visa to come to to America. And so I think, that would be an amazing guest. I'd love to get in guys like that. So, wish me luck and continued success on that as we try to get some of these, really high profile guys coming into the show, guys and girls, get some ladies in as well. One of the future episodes that I'm recording is I have an author that is a UK expat. He's lived in Shenzhen for the better part of 14 years. He is one of the world's biggest authorities really on WeChat and Chinese marketing. He has a tremendous amount of insights. He just recently wrote a book about Douyin, the TikTok. And I'm going to bring him in. We're going to be recording that the first week of January. So we're going to give a whole background story into Douyin. It's going to be very fascinating. And so, that's a story, that no one's being told right now. And I want to leverage this channel to help tell that story because I find it fascinating that you have a company, ByteDance, that is the parent company of TikTok. It's based in Beijing. Certainly they have teams based in the US, but it's incredible to me that ByteDance can figure out social media in America better than Facebook and Google did. I mean, it's actually kind of a loss of face for Facebook and Google to have, TikTok come in and just really captivate so many people in America. It's pretty incredible. I mean, you talk about what a saturated market to try to enter in, and they did it. I mean, TikTok's done amazing. And, we know very well that there is no national security threat with TikTok. That entire thing this year was simply competition and just simply saying, like we kind of went on this anti-China train. It was just one thing after the other. So very, very much it wasn't this, this issue that we see as far as a national security threat. So let me get to a couple of super chats here. We've got Richard. Merry Christmas and happy birthday, Cyrus. Please get a bottle of wine. It's on me. Richard, thank you very much for the support, my friend. I appreciate your friendship and the continued support. Trevor, Norman, Cyrus, after the last few bad years of Trump, how long do you think it will take China to the same standards on the U.S. as things like chips? Well, this is really interesting. This is my philosophy, or not philosophy, but kind of my thinking about this. The worst thing the United States can do is back China into a corner. Okay. When you say to China, we're going to cut off your chip supply and we are going to essentially make it impossible for you to succeed, that is the worst thing you can do to China, because I know one thing about Chinese people is the will and the tenacity to, to get through things and to 想办法, 搞定这个麻烦的事情的, just to think of something and just, sort this, 搞定 is a great Chinese word to solve this problem. They are definitely going to be able to solve that, because the thing is, it's kind of like what happened with COVID this year, right? I think a lot of companies started thinking, you know what, like things are shifting. Maybe we should have an online presence this year. And then all of a sudden COVID came and it's like, you know what, we have to have an online presence. Like we need to do this, not now, but right now. And so what you saw is stores and companies that were thinking about establishing an online presence, immediately that accelerated that plan. So COVID has been the biggest driver of this digital transformation that we've seen in the world. And this is why a company like Zoom, that stock has gone up 10 times this year because of, everyone's using Zoom now. And I think you had Bill Gates come out and say a few weeks ago, international travel in the future, probably 50% of all international travel will be eliminated after this is even solved, because, so much of what we've been able to figure out is we can get things done by Zoom. Look at the live stream we have. We're close to 700 people now tuning in live. People, we can make this happen. We don't necessarily need to fly halfway around the world to make deals happen. And I think this is what you're seeing. To answer that question, I think you're going to see is China's going to double down even faster. They're going to even they're going to allocate more resources to this problem, and they are going to figure it out, as fast as they possibly can. I think for example, if you didn't see that pressure from Trump and from the United States government, I think China would have just said, hey, you know what? We have a good relationship. We don't really need to develop this chip technology. We can just buy the chips. Simple enough. But now it's saying, you know what? This is probably a good idea. You never know. We don't want to be reliant on somebody else all the time. Let's go ahead and start this process. Now, it's going to take a long time. I don't think this is something you're going to be able to solve in a couple of months' time. But I think you're going to, again, I would never bet against China in that regard. You look at how fast they're moving and what's happening in China, that'd be the silliest bet in the world to bet against them to not solve this problem. So I'm very bullish on that case for there, Trevor. Let me just make sure we got everybody for the super chats here. Richard, yep, okay, good. We're all caught up. So anyways, Real Talk China. We've talked about that. The other thing that we're going as well is we should pass it. We're at 716 right now tuning in live. So thank you guys for tuning in. So the other thing that I want to talk about is that I'm also going to, hold on, let me look at this. But on the contrary, the reason for meeting face-to-face, as we were taught pre-pandemic, is that you cannot fax a handshake. That's true. I think, you're going to see some big major business deals. Obviously still, going to be, need to be face-to-face. And I think it is really just a face issue, right? If you're going to have this huge multinational corporations merging or something like that, yeah, you're going to need to meet in person. But a lot of it will be, be able to done through Zoom and our technology. So guys, we're at 718 now. This is great. Thank you for everybody being here. Now, one of the other things that was interesting is earlier this year, it was really funny is that somebody had made a comment to me and they said, Cyrus, you're not really, marketing. You're not really being a bridge to China and America. All you're doing is just marketing Cyrus Janssen to China. You're basically just trying to sell yourself to China. And I said, well, that's really an interesting thing, because if you look at it, I started actually on November 2019. I started a Douyin account, and the Douyin is the Chinese TikTok. So I actually started on Chinese social media before I was active on YouTube, and I had a lot of fun making great videos on Douyin. Now, if you follow me on Chinese TikTok, you'll notice that I have been very much inactive over the past few months because I have been focusing on a Western media channel, YouTube. primarily because it is the fact that I have a lot of subscribers, in North America. I have 40% of the subscribers to the channel are based in North America, but I have a lot of, Westerners and non-Chinese that are also subscribing to the channel. And many people saying, Cyrus, we really appreciate you sharing your insights because, because you have that experience. And so we would look to you because we know mainstream media is a bit biased. So we want to get, we want to hear both sides of the story. So the funny thing is if I'm really trying to market myself, I would only be on Chinese social. I really wouldn't be on YouTube. It's not it's not the number one place to be, to basically share my message. So that being said, though, now after, close to a year of being on YouTube, I've decided to go back, and now I'm going to be trying to incorporate a little bit more. So what I am going to do now is that I am going to, be starting to do some more vlogs and stuff on Chinese social networks. So look in the future, if you do want to follow me, for instance, on Bilibili and some of the other Toutiao, Bilibili, I'm going to have my Douyin already, but I'm going to start a WeChat page. So basically, I've got now a team behind me that I'm going to be starting some of these Chinese social networks and, producing some content there. But again, it's interesting, again, like my main mission now moving forward is again, YouTube is going to be the main driver. I really do want to use this platform, to leverage this. And this is some really cool things. So we've talked about the other big announcement that I wanted to announce, and kind of why I see, YouTube as my primary network, and why I still want to really focus on this is that I was just invited to give a TEDx talk, and I'm very excited to announce that. The actual TEDx event is here in Vancouver, which is very convenient for me. Obviously, it's just right here in my city that I'm at. So I'm very excited about giving this TEDx talk because this is a TEDx talk that is dedicated to youth. And the topic is not necessarily going to be specifically about China. What it was going to talk about is the organizer of this TEDx event. They viewed my video about why I left China and I moved to Canada. And in that video, I talk about first of all, I rewind the clock and I say, well, let me tell you the story of why I went to China in the first place. And that is, of course, the word opportunity. And I was getting ready to graduate university. I had two amazing job opportunities, right? I had the opportunity to, go in this very established, great, business environment of, being in the corporate culture in Florida, my hometown, or go to China. And of course, as you all know, I went to China, and it was one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life, to go to China. So we're going to basically give a talk about, seizing opportunity and, trying to, put your fears behind you and basically move forward. So this is going to be a youth talk. So it's going to be a TEDx event. It's going to be kind of geared toward the youth, but that is going to be the topic. So I don't have an actual title for the speech yet. It's actually on January 7th. So it's pretty tight deadline. So that's what I'm going to be working on. And I will be sharing that on the YouTube channel as well. But, I'm really excited because, I've been invited to speak at this TEDx event, which would be really neat to do. I've always wanted to do a TEDx event. And in addition to that, I've been invited to speak at another a university in Chicago. We're actually going to be doing an online conference. It'll be a digital conference. And I'm going to be speaking on the topic of diversity. And so I think what's really interesting is when you see how this YouTube channel has started to sprout some different branches and is going down different paths. What I'm really seeing this is, again, my mission, with this YouTube channel is to promote working together. And it really, again, it started with a very simple idea of the fact that, when the United States, and I always mention the United States, obviously I am American, so I do want to talk about my home country, but really every country in the world, right? When we learn to, embrace each other and we learn to build these relationships, I honestly think that, the world can work with China. I don't see why not. I do not believe that China is going out with a target to destroy America or replace America and say, look, we want to be number one in the world. I mentioned this in a previous video. I think culturally, Chinese are always going to be respectful of America. And I think America almost always has that kind of number one spot in the world. Again, if we're looking at economic estimates, we're realizing that, let's say, within the next 5 years, China will overtake America as far as the #1 economy. But I think within 25 years, India will overtake China. So, it doesn't matter if it's China or if it's India, kind of moving forward for the rest of this century, it is going to be an Asian century. But I think what we're always looking at kind of culturally, right? You still see a lot of things are being led from from America. America is always going to, have a high spot and a lot of reputation, a high reputation around the world. And I think this is what has been difficult as an American, because over the last 4 years, our reputation on the global stage has really decreased. And it was really funny as well, because I've had some comments on that video that when I talk about, I mentioned this in the video. If you look at America over the last 4 years, our international reputation has, gone down. And a few Americans just said, "How dare you talk about our country like that? You have no right to say that. You are un-American, and I would never watch another, video from you again." And I just find it funny, because these are the type of people that'll be like, in China there's no freedom of speech. And it's like, well, you're essentially shaming me for my freedom of speech, right? I've said something that you don't agree with, and now you've said you're un-American. You shouldn't be able to say that. You can't talk about that. I'm never going to watch one of your videos again, which is fine. You don't want to watch my video? That's fine. No, again, same thing like the Chinese factories. No one's forcing American companies to go to China to manufacture it. No one's forcing you to come here, so no problem. But I think it's just interesting that we have this. People were getting on me saying, "Cyrus, you're being anti-American." I said, "No, actually, I'm being just very truthful. Let's just be honest. I've been living outside of America for the past 14 years, and I see things from an international perspective, because I'm looking at what people around me are saying. This is really interesting here in Canada as well. When I say people, for instance, I'll be meeting with other Canadians, and we're talking about things, and then they're just like, 'Oh man,' and then I'll say something like, 'Yeah, actually, I'm originally from Florida.' And sometimes Canadians be like, 'Oh, you're not Canadian. Oh, okay.' It's kind of a subtle thing. I don't think it's something on purpose, but it's not like it's not like they feel bad for me. But I think what you've seen though is you've just seen like America's reputation has really decreased a lot over the last few years. I don't think that's really debatable. I think when you look at it on the international perspective. So I think this is one thing that's really good with Joe Biden, is that he will instantly increase the popularity of America again on the international stage. I do know that there's many people within America, over 70 million, that do not like Joe Biden, but I think on a global stage, he will be much more accepted, as the traditional president, and hopefully bring a little bit more peaceful times. So here we go. So let's just say, let's see. So I think we've talked about this. Let's talk a little bit about any other questions or comments here. Oh, I did see one super chat that came in. TR, thank you very much for the little thumbs up emoji there. All right, let's see. Cyrus, is this going to be your full-time job now? Good question. It's not going to be my full-time job. So I do have a consulting business that I run here in Vancouver, where we do marketing. We do marketing and consulting. So this is a big part of my business. So this is my business. And then YouTube certainly has, proved to be, a really, it started off as a passion project, and now it's really developing into something much bigger. So I'm definitely going to be, allocating more time to this, because this is a great passion of mine. And it was really funny, as I was talking to my father, and he gave me some really good advice. He said, Cyrus, when people are authoring a book, some advice that people would give them would say, you need to think about the words that you want to write in the book. You need to think about, it should be keeping you up in the middle of the night with passion, because you're so passionate to write about that subject matter. It's like, if you're staying up to the middle of the night thinking about the content that you're going to write in your book, you're going to be a successful author. And so I think I've taken that kind of same principle to my YouTube channel. There's many nights where, I'll be working at, 12, 1, 2 in the morning on YouTube. And I just have a tremendous amount of energy, because I really am fueled by the comments that I receive and the amount of support that we get. And I realize, look at how much this channel has grown over the last year. There's so many people that I'm just so grateful for all of your support. And I really do feel that we're starting to make a difference. And I always try to say we, because we have, tremendous amount of supporters here on the YouTube channel. I also want to give a chance to thank you to my Patreon subscribers. If any of you are interested to join our team on Patreon, we have a really cool team on there. Basically, the link is down in the description below. Essentially, you can join our Patreon team. And what I do with that money is I take about 50%. I take 50% of the money from the Patreon account and I donate that to an orphanage in Beijing. So we take 50% of the funds, we donate it right back to orphans in China to help them out. And the remaining 50%, I invest that back into the channel, buying new equipment, paying for subtitling and some of the team members that help me on the back end. So we're just trying to, invest, keep investing in this channel and try to make it bigger. So I think as far as full-time job, what I would love to do is to do more speaking engagements. I really do love public speaking. I had a chance to go to a university here in Canada last month. I gave a speech entitled "Why the World Needs More China," which was really well received. One of my more popular videos on YouTube so far. If you haven't had a chance, watch that speech. But I love doing that. I've got the TEDx event. I've got the diversity conference. So, I'd love to get more engagements like this because it really is a tremendous amount of fun. And again, like I'm just trying to shine a light. I really am. I really want people to, for me, it's as simple as this, guys. And we'll kind of wrap this up in a little bit. Is that we have two options. We can either go to war with China or we can pivot to peace. And I'm going to show you this. This is a recent book that I read. Okay, The China Mirage. This is by author James Bradley. Now, if you don't know this book, James Bradley, he has authored another book called The Flags of Our Fathers. You might know that book because it was made into a Clint Eastwood movie, Flag of Our Fathers. The famous scene from, the famous picture of the Marines lifting the American flag in Iwo Jima. All right, it's one of the probably most iconic photos in American history. James Bradley's father was one of the Marines that was lifting that flag in that photo. So he's an author and he's a historian. This is the best book that I've ever read about China. My goal is to bring James Bradley into the Real Talk China show next year to talk about this. But I'm going to be making a YouTube video about this book. What it talks about is just simply the China Mirage, and it talked about how American government made some huge mistakes with China before and essentially lost China. And it was amazing because what I'm seeing right now is I'm seeing another mirage that's happening. I'm seeing, we talk about this, history doesn't repeat itself, but it often mimics. And this is what we're seeing right now is, for example, I think it's amazing. Like Michael Pompeo, he came out. You guys know I love Michael Pompeo. I got to be honest. I'm so excited that he's going to be leaving because I think he's done a terrible job as Secretary of State. I mean, he's really hurt the reputation of America abroad. But in a recent speech, he just said China is so desperate for everything we have in America, and they will do anything they can to be like America. And I just said, Michael, you just have no idea what you're talking about because at the bottom line, let's just say this, you haven't even controlled COVID. I mean, you're nowhere close to controlling COVID, and I think there's so many great things that are happening in China. We see Chinese people becoming more proud of the fact that they are Chinese and certainly proud of their country. There's a lot of things for Chinese people to be proud of. What the government and what the people themselves have accomplished over the last 30 years is simply incredible. And so anyways, I'm seeing this China mirage that's happening again, where people in the West, due to our politicians and our mainstream media, we have this kind of view of China that is a complete mirage. We are not seeing it the way that it needs to be seen. And I think on the long term, I just think that America is going to suffer, as a result of this. So I'm going to look for a future video on this. I'm going to be breaking down this book, what I learned from this. This is a really, really good book. If you're interested to learn about China and its history, recent history, kind of like last 100 years history, highly recommend that book. Again, that's one of my goals this year, to bring in James Bradley to discuss this book and to talk about China on the YouTube channel. Guys, let's fire in any last minute chats. We've had a great time. We're coming up to the end of time here. So I want to thank you for that. Got Alex from Reporterfy Media in here. Thanks, buddy, for jumping in to do a little moderating. I appreciate it. Sophia, another little sticker here. Thank you for that. Has China Won? Also a good book. Absolutely, I agree. Guys, if you don't follow Alex from Reporterfy Media, you'll see him in the chat here. He's put out some amazing videos, some China bridges and China roads. Some of the most ridiculous drone footage I've ever seen on China. Like, it is so good. Alex and I collaborated earlier this year when we did 5 cities. We did Beijing, Shanghai, Shenzhen, Chongqing, and somewhere else, I forget. But anyways, you can look back on my YouTube videos and see that. Those were a collaboration with Alex. Give him a follow. Check out his other China travel videos. Super cool stuff. Best drone stuff I've seen on China by far. Jun, thank you so much for the super chat. And let's see any other rose-colored glasses. Yeah, exactly. This is what we're seeing. We are definitely seeing this. Cyrus, let's see. When will the next live stream be? The next live stream, you know what it's going to be? I think the next live stream is going to be when we get close to 100,000 subscribers, because we are knocking on the door of that. I know we're close to 90,000 right now, and I'm super excited about this. I'm just so honored for your support, guys, and just humbled, really humbled to see how fast this channel has grown. Again, it could not. I wouldn't be here, without your continued support, sharing, liking, commenting, just continued support. I really, really appreciate it. Now, I have a couple of things. I'll give you a little teaser on this. I'm working with a couple of companies right now to actually sponsor the 100,000K live stream. And what I want to do is to do a giveaway with some gifts and stuff to really celebrate it. I think many of you know, like 100,000 is a huge milestone on YouTube. So, when we reach that level, that's going to be the next live stream. There might be maybe one before that, but that's kind of be my next big one. So make sure you look forward for that one, because that'll be a really good one. Cyrus, do you speak fluent German as well? My mother's from Germany. I don't speak German fluently. I speak it at a pretty decent level. I have to be honest, I feel more comfortable in speaking in Mandarin than I do German, but I do speak German with my mother quite a bit. And I do enjoy it, and I teach my daughter a little bit as well. But I am actually a German national, so I do have dual citizenship. Cyrus, do you receive personal threats on your videos? I honestly, for the most part, I don't. I think this is one of the things that I think it's really hard to, when you come out simply saying that you want to learn to work with each other and that you're trying to be a positive force. I mean, I try to treat others the way that I want to be treated. And the thing is that I think when you look at things very rationally, and I think this is what many people comment in my videos, Cyrus, thank you for providing facts and logic to your videos. When you tackle a subject, I'll give you an example, is the Mandarin language eroding, ethnic groups in China? Now, what I did is I went through that video and I simply broke down a lot of facts, and I reported what was happening in China and basically gave everybody some context to understand that. It's really hard to go against a video like that, because I'm not talking about my bias. I'm not saying, well, I think it's this. This is what's happening because I think that. No, this is what's happening in China. Here's the facts. This is what happened. This is what's going on. And this is how you can understand that. Because, again, many people understand it's like, well, look at these poor people in Inner Mongolia. They have to be learning Mandarin. Well, imagine that, learning the most popular language in the world. In addition to that, learning the official language of the country that you're a citizen of. Is that really a bad thing? And what's really interesting is here in Richmond, I went to a Japanese noodle store. The server was really interesting. His father's from Ireland. His mother's from Inner Mongolia. He's about 19, 20 years old. So he's mixed race kid, exactly like my children. Really cool to see. Anyways, he grew up in Inner Mongolia. And I said, wow, fascinating. So him and I are speaking Mandarin to each other. We're having a great time. And I just said, okay, let's talk about regional languages. What's going on? And he said, well, the biggest thing is if you only speak Mongolian, nobody can get a job. Like, you have to speak Mandarin. He's like, so this is the biggest thing from the government is they just said, look, for your future, you need to speak Mandarin. Of course, speak Mongolian. Like, speak it in the home. And this is like in Shanghai. If you go to Shanghai, people speak Shanghainese in the home. It's very much, alive still in Shanghai. But you know where it is in the place. You would never want to teach somebody to only speak Shanghainese. That would be useless, right? You could survive in Shanghai, but what business could you do? You couldn't get a job anywhere in China because there's so many people in Shanghai alone that don't speak Shanghainese. So it's important to embrace your culture, but look at the national perspective as well. So I think that's when I think when you think of it in that regard. So I don't get a lot of threats. I get a lot of support. I look at my channels, probably like 97, 98% of my videos. Sorry, most of my videos have around 97, 98% liked. Most people, like this. So being able to learn Mandarin is an investment in the future. Absolutely. Again, this is why we have so many Western countries, people spending lots of money on Asian tutors and trying to learn, Chinese tutors, trying to learn, the Chinese language. Cyrus, looking forward to your work in 2021. Thank you from Malaysia. Thank you so much. I love Malaysia. Been there many times. KL, fantastic. David Tam, bravo. Yes, there's a Uyghur Chinese girl named Annie Guli. She is great, and she has a great YouTube channel. I would love to, to bring her in as well. Anyways, ethnic languages are getting better coverage now. All right. Any other final questions? Let's just, we're going to do one more minute, and then we're going to wrap it up, guys. So again, those are some of the plans. So I wanted to share in today's stream why I started a YouTube channel. We're going to get some Chinese social going in 2021. Real Talk China. Look for some really epic, guys like authors like James Bradley. We're going to bring in some really superpower guests to bring a very interesting perspective, somebody that content that you're not going to be able to find anywhere else, that really gives an insight into what's happening into China. That's what we're going to be planning for this new year. I'm looking forward to some of these future speeches that I'll be giving, not necessarily on China, but things like diversity, things like, traveling, taking risks, and, really, seizing these opportunities in life. I got this TEDx talk coming up in mid-January. Look very much forward to sharing that talk with you, here on the YouTube channel. Cyrus live from Indonesia. Good job, Cyrus. Good night. Thank you so much. Support as always. Good job, Cyrus. Thumbs way down. You are a communist. Well, not a communist, but what I do, I would consider myself a, somebody that has traveled around the world and is respectful and just realizes that this is a fact. The world is too unique and too diverse for only one form of government to exist. Okay. I think democracy is great. I think American democracy is great, but I think American democracy is great in the country of America. And I do not believe that you could take that anywhere else and besides America. Let me give you an example. You could not take American democracy and march over the border to Canada and bring it here. People in Canada would have no interest in that. The differences between Canada and the US is huge, huge. So for you to think that you can bring American democracy and bring it to Asia, where there's even larger cultural differences, not a chance. Okay. Every country is unique, and they need to find a form of government that works for those people, that's based on that culture. I truly believe in that. And this is why, again, I'm not anti-democracy. I'm certainly not anti-American democracy. I do believe it's great, but I believe it's great in America. And I think that's where it should stay. And I think that America needs to embrace, that there are different, people around the world and different needs. Singapore says hi. Happy New Year. Jason Lamb. Good work, Cyrus. Cultures are different too. Edward, Merry Christmas. Guys, All right. Curious to ask why your Chinese name as Wong as the first name. I'm actually going to make this as my next YouTube video. Okay. I'm going to talk about my Chinese name. That is my next YouTube video that I'm going to be talking about. Very interesting story. I'll be sharing that, and we'll have some fun. Kevin in the UK, thank you for staying up. I hope it was worth it. I know it's at, 2:20 a.m. in the UK. I appreciate your support, buddy. I really do appreciate it. So thank you so much for staying up. TW Lee, Joy, well said, Cyrus. Just Wonder, great. Mike Joan, great job. Let's see. Hopefully Biden can be a great president, although I'm a little doubtful. I don't know how good Biden's going to be, but I do think it is going to be a nice change. This is my last thing that I'm going to end on, and this is going to be, it's hard to see Donald Trump today saying, the Supreme Court is, terrible for not overturning this election, and, Joe Biden is a fake president. That's really hard to see. I mean, when you have the current president making statements like this, it questions the entire legitimacy of your democracy. So, I mean, we can't have that. So I know moving forward, at least Joe Biden, I don't think he's going to be an amazing president. I think he's, but I think it's going to be a much needed change for America. And I am always an optimist. So I am going to be looking for that. Nick in Melbourne, thank you for the super chat. Support from Melbourne, Australia. I didn't want to miss you, buddy. Thank you for that. Guys, thank you all for your time today. We're going to end it here. thank you all for your time. Thank you for your continued support. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel as we march forward to that 100,000. We're going to do a really cool, giveaway. Check us out on Patreon if you're interested in gaining some insider access and helping some Chinese orphans along the way. Link is down in the description down below. We've got some exciting videos coming out, more new projects. Real Talk China, we're going to take it to a new level in 2021. Guys, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to spend it with me. It's been a pleasure spending time with all of you, and I look forward to seeing you in future videos and future live streams. Thank you all. Merry Christmas, Happy Boxing Day, and Happy New Year, and we will see you in the new year. Thanks, guys. Take care.